What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country and everything you need to know about on a daily basis, including money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, and a stimulus check update. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below right now, as it's completely free to do so. And remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, thanks for hitting the like button for us down below. We got a lot to talk about here today. We're going to talk about multiple different things. Okay, massive news yesterday. President Biden had a call with the Chinese president to lay out, as you can see here, consequences for China if it supports Russia and their war on Ukraine. Early indications show, for what we know from the call, that the Chinese president uh, wants to kind of play neutral. They don't really want to, from what they've told us, want to support Russia in that way, and they don't want to have sanctions from the US and the rest of the world. So China, it looks like they don't want to support Russia. The question is, are they going to try to uh, do it in a sneaky way? Are they going to try to do it anyways and say, "Oh, we're not supporting them. This is just, something different, something different." And you can see here, China indicates to President Biden that they won't send weapons to Russia. And you can see here the Chinese president faces a dilemma: support an quote ally in Russian President Putin, or face near unanimous condemnation and economic sanctions abroad from probably almost every country in Europe and the United States, and even Australia and Japan has all sanctioned Russia and would probably do so to China as well. Even if they don't want to, it's probably near unanimous consensus right now. You can see here the Chinese account, what the Chinese are reporting of the 2-hour phone call, reveals that Beijing considers such a dangerous escalation with its unpredictable ally, the Russians, not to be worth the guaranteed international fallout, according to several former officials and analysts. Quote, with these statements by the Chinese president, and certainly that by the Chinese, they indeed want a ceasefire as soon as possible. The Chinese cannot now turn around and be seen shipping weapons to Russia. Biden, quote, described the implications and consequences if China provides material support, weapons, or money to Russia as it conducts brutal attacks against Ukrainian cities and civilians. Now, Russian President Putin had a call with Turkey's president, and he shared his demands for Ukraine, his new demands to basically stop the war. If you trust Putin, if you trust Putin. The problem here is Putin literally lies all the time. So does even former Russia, presidents. I mean, we look at the old treaty that Ukraine give back the nukes, or give Ukraine used to have nukes when they separated from Russia or the USSR, and the treaty was that Russia, USSR, would never invade Ukraine. Well, how did that treaty go? Also, remember, before the war started, Putin said that, oh no, our troops are retreating. Our troops are falling back. And literally they invaded like a couple days later. And I mean, they're bombing, hospitals. And then like a day later, they say, oh, that wasn't us. Like, what? So anyways, if you were the Ukrainian president, and this were the demands that Putin was giving you to stop the war, let me know, if you were the president, would you take these demands to stop the war? And Putin was saying, listen, if you do this, we'll stop the war tomorrow. Let me know what you would do. So Putin called the Turkish president to share his demands for Ukraine. and a close advisor, and said he believes the Ukrainian president Zelensky will be open to some of them. As the war goes on, people think that Putin is starting to lessen his demands as he really is not taking over cities and getting more and more desperate. Some people think here. Um, the Turkish president said that Putin sounded clear and concise during the conversation and had two categories of demands. And the Turkish president said that Ukraine could meet the first four rather easily if they wanted to. Ukraine would have to stay neutral and not apply to NATO. This means including in the future. NATO is not letting them really apply right now because they're being attacked, and if they get attacked, then NATO, the US, and the 29 other countries would have to immediately attack back. That's the NATO treaty. But this would also mean Ukraine wouldn't be able to join in the future. So that's the first one. Callan said, and they would have to also undergo a disarmament process. So whatever that fully means, that would mean that all their weapons and missiles and everything would be taken away. So another concern as well. Number one's a concern as well. That means they'd have no protection ever, really, from any other countries, the EU or NATO, because look at what they're going through now. And remember, Russia could do this again in the future. And then they want to be disarmed, or Russia wants them to be disarmed. That's another huge problem. Remember all these weapons that they're getting from the US and all these other countries. So Russia says, okay, if you basically surrender and be disarmed, whether Russia takes their weapons or who takes them, we don't know. But all your weapons have to be gone, and then we'll stop the war. This is if you trust Russia. And protect the Russian language in the country. Well, that's probably not a problem because most of them speak Russian anyways. Remember this, they used to be part of Russia. I mean, Russia is literally attacking their own people. Ukraine would also have to agree to go through a denazification. And this next paragraph sums it up. Ukrainian President Zelensky is Jewish and had several relatives die in the Holocaust. Asking for the government to go through a denazification is deeply offensive to Zelensky. It's literally a quote from Zelensky. Simpson wrote, but the Turkish side believes it will be easy enough for Zelensky to accept this. You can't even believe asking this guy to do this. Perhaps it will be enough for Ukraine to condemn all forms of neo-Nazism and promise to clamp down on them. The guy's Jewish and had relatives die in the Holocaust, but yet Putin's claiming he's a Nazi. All right. Callan was not much more vague when describing more contentious demands, only saying they involved separatist areas of eastern Ukraine, which means Putin would probably want to claim areas of Ukraine as well and say they're now part of Russia, and Crimea. And that Putin will say Ukraine must give up the territory held by the separatists and formally accept that Crimea, which was illegally annexed in 2014, is part of Russia. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts. Those are Russia's current demands. What would you do if you were the Ukrainian president? Now, Putin says if you do this, they would stop. Question is, do you believe him? Now, the other thing is, if you don't do this, the war continues on, and we know people are dying every single day from both sides. Of course, we know it's worse on Ukraine because they're civilians and their hometown is there, and they're being bombed every day. The question is, how do you get this to end? But some of those demands are just literally unrealistic, in my opinion. Okay, so you want us to de-arm ourselves while you're attacking us, and then we're supposed to just trust you? I don't know about that, but you can let me know your thoughts. It's like trusting Putin, right? Would you trust Putin? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I would. Meanwhile, here at home, as inflation is just and gas prices are rising here because of the war in Russia and because of Putin, Democratic lawmakers are pressuring Biden to issue executive orders. In fact, the Democratic Progressive Caucus here actually gave a list of executive orders that they want Biden to pass. A whole slew of executive orders that they want him to pass um, now or before, soon as possible here, um, with kind of some bullet points, focusing on 8 major points here, and I'll read you them here. This is coming from the Democratic Progressive Caucus, and remember, there's 96 Democrats in the House alone. Bernie Sanders from the Senate as well. And then they're growing. They've just been growing as the years go by here. Pramila Jayapal is the leader of the House Democratic Progressive Caucus. She also could be considered to be the next Speaker of the House when Nancy Pelosi retires. Nancy Pelosi said she's going to go for at least one more term, which is 2 more years. Of course, she has to be reelected. But remember, Nancy Pelosi gets elected by landslides every time she goes. So does Mitch McConnell from the Republican side. But Mitch McConnell just got reelected to the Senate. They serve 6-year terms over there. Mitch McConnell's age is he's age 80. He was born in 1942. Talk about going back to World War II in 1942. So he'll be like 85 years old when his term is up, because he's about a year into his term. Uh, if he runs again, I don't know if he's going to run again, but if he runs again and wins, he would go till he's like 91 years old. And I believe there is a senator that's actually that old in the Senate. Nancy Pelosi's 81, so she's a year older than Mitch McConnell. But remember that in the House, you only serve 2-year terms. So every 2 years, you got to be reelected, as opposed to in the Senate, it's every 6 years. And about 1/3 of the Senate is up for reelection every 2 years. So when they have midterm elections like this November, only about 1/3 of the Senate is up for reelection. Not all senators are up for reelection, so keep that in mind. But Nancy Pelosi will be up for reelection, and she wins by a landslide every year. Not to say that she won't win or lose, but I'm just kind of giving you the past election results. Mitch McConnell had a kind of close election last year, but he still won by a decent margin. But remember, now he's in there for 6 years, so he'll be there till he's 85 years old. President Joe Biden is 79, and Trump age. Former President Donald Trump is 75. Joe Biden is 79. So yeah, they're all up there. Barack Obama's only 60, so he's pretty young compared to everybody else. 20 years younger. Yeah. But here's a list of the demands or the executive orders that the Progressive Democratic Caucus are saying that the president should just pass through executive order. What this means is he could literally just sign his name, pass the executive order. It doesn't need to go through the House, the Senate. Doesn't need to go through Joe Manchin, doesn't need to go through Mitch McConnell, doesn't need to go through the Republicans or the Democrats. You can literally just sign it through executive order. I mean, Trump did executive order. Biden's already done executive orders. And here's kind of the rundown of executive orders, the categories that they want to see executive orders done in. Number one, lower prescription drug prices. Okay, this is kind of just a broad overview. Whether or not how they would enact these and what the specifics of executive orders that they would do here is yet to be determined. This is just give you an idea of what they want to see here through executive orders. Number one, lower prescription drug prices. Number two, cancel student loans. Okay. In the past, President Biden has said that he would be willing to do up to $10,000 per person of student loan forgiveness. Of student loan forgiveness. Last year, the government and the Biden administration did cancel $11.5 billion of student loan forgiveness. I'll put this up on the screen so you can see this here. This article from Forbes. This is from November, so a few months ago, like I said, from last year. $11.5 billion in student loan forgiveness was done last year. Some is automatic, some is not. This was mostly last year, was done for people with disabilities, people in the public student loan service program, and people who their colleges defrauded them or closed on them. There's also been some more this year, and there's probably going to be a lot more this year as well. I'll keep you up to date on this. It's just one type of stimulus program. Remember, I keep you up to date on literally any type, child tax credits, raises for seniors, state stimulus programs, gas stimulus checks that are literally all the rage now, anti-inflation stimulus checks, um, SNAP programs, pandemic EBT program, anything that can put money in your pockets, or even just whatever's going on here with our country, daily news you need to know about, I covered here on our YouTube channel. So there's all sorts of different ways that Congress and states and Democrats and Republicans that are all working on it right now with inflation right now. It's pretty bad, but there's going to be a lot more student loan forgiveness this year as well. 11.5 billion last year. There's already been some this year. But the Democrats want to see a mass student loan forgiveness done this year for everybody, not just certain groups of people. There's about 40 some million people with student loans. And they want to do, the Democrats want it to go as high as $50,000 per person. And technically, the government wouldn't have to, and like 95% of that is owned by the government. So they really wouldn't have to, they could just forgive it. They could literally just forgive it. Okay. So yeah, it's interesting. Now, Biden has said he would possibly in the past be willing to do $10,000 of student loan forgiveness, but he hasn't yet. Hasn't yet. And also, Democrats have talked about that when they do that, that they should be fair to other people and do other types of debt forgiveness for the other people. There's about 1 in 6 adults that has student loan debt forgiveness, but there's been other Democrats that have said that we should be fair to other people that don't have student loan debt, and they should forgive other types of debt for other people. So that could be something to look forward to as well. So that was number two. Number three would be to raise employee wages and protect employees with new employee protection. So again, we've seen from the third stimulus check package, they tried to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour nationally. And it almost passed. It actually passed in the House, but was not able to pass in the Senate, largely because the Senate parliamentarian ruled that it could not be included in the reconciliation package. They actually tried to overrule her with a vote, and just because of that, it was not able to pass. Um, just the senators just said, "Ah, well, because she ruled it shouldn't be in here, we really don't want to overrule her." And that's generally what happens when the Senate parliamentarian rules that something really shouldn't be in there. Generally, you'll get a few people that'll say, "Nah, I don't really want to overrule her." Whatever it is, generally what happens, and that's exactly what happened with the $15 an hour minimum wage. Now, Biden has passed some executive orders for federal contractors and government employees as well. He has done executive orders for those. Some of those have already been done this year. So those have already been done, but Democrats are pushing for more. We've also had multiple states have already said, like Florida is one of them, that have raised their minimum wage to $15 an hour. I don't believe Florida goes in effect until 2026, if my top of the memory serves me correctly. But a lot of different states have passed $15 minimum wage, but they don't happen immediately. So sorry if that was loud, but a lot of states have passed their own $15 an hour minimum wage, but then there's a lot of states that are really far behind in the times and are still at $7.25, which is the federal minimum wage as well. So really just that's the problem here is that there's some states that are ahead of the curve maybe, and then there's some states that are maybe behind the curve. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments. Remember, that's just the minimum wage. That's just the minimum wage. You don't have to work for the minimum wage. It's a free market. You can always go and work wherever you want. That's just the minimum wage. You can always go work wherever you determine you want to. So just keep that in mind. Okay, number 4 that the Democrats want to do is more rights for immigrants. And this, I'm not choosing sides here. This is just what they want. More rights for immigrants and even more rights for illegal immigrants. Again, I don't choose sides, so I'm just telling you guys what they want. I'm not from the Democrats or for the Republicans, so you guys can let me know your thoughts on this. Number 5 is they want to prosecute more white collar crimes. More white collar crimes, but they also want to be a little bit more lenient on smaller crimes, like potentially theft and crimes like that. So potentially you can let me know your thoughts here in the comments on both of those. Number 6 is to fight climate change and reduce fossil fuel dependency, like with renewable energies. And right now, that's actually kind of a big thing because, well, look at what's going on with the price of oil, the price of gas. And I expect it's not something you can do overnight. You can't just do it overnight. But in the future, we've been talking about that. Our country's been talking about that, especially like you talk about power plants and stuff. I think in the future we could transition away from using oil on those. Those really don't need to be using oil. Um, there's just no need for it, right? You can use nuclear. You could use wind, solar. You know, things like that, right? Old cars are just going to use gas. You can't transition away from gas on old cars. Some people are going to use electric cars in the future, but electric cars are expensive. I mean, unless you can buy a new car, you can't buy electric. So you can only transition away to renewable energy so much. If you live in a state like Ohio, solar doesn't work that well. Homes don't go get wind power, but if you live in a windy state or if you live in a solar state, homes can get solar or they can get solar and wind on a large scale to provide energy. Really, not being from either side, I think that our government should provide more of that because having to pay for gas and oil over and over and over and over again, whether it's here from our country, even from our country, we still have to pay these gas companies, Exxon, Shell, and BP, and they're gouging us and having to buy from other countries to help supplement us. It's expensive. It's expensive. Where, for example, if you pay to put the infrastructure in of solar, of wind, of nuclear, you build a nuclear power plant once, and it's there for a long, long time, and it costs almost nothing to maintain. Very, very little, right? And it's clean energy. Um, when you have that to supplement, it's actually really, really good. And then you're not so dependent on oil. But who's kidding who? We need gas and oil for cars, especially. I think each has its own place. But we don't want to be reliant on places like Russia and Saudi Arabia. And when we want to drill here at home. I think it all kind of fits in the puzzle. When we do need oil and gas, we want to get as much of it from here at home in the United States. You can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Okay, that was number 6, I believe. Number 7 is increase taxes on high income earners and I believe on corporations. Remember that there's like about 50 some or even more per year out of the top 500 corporations that pay zero federal income tax per year. So over 10% of corporations out of the top corporations in America typically pays zero federal income tax just because of the way the tax code is written. It's not something they're doing illegally. It's just the way the tax code is written. So if they're making billions of dollars, they should be paying taxes. They should be providing so that they can use that money to do anything with, right? If you're making $10 billion a year and you're a gas company or if you're a software company, you should be able to help our country. And finally, probably the most important one, invest more in the care economy, which is basically people. Money for children, money for the low income, money for seniors, money for those in need, money for people. And this is a lot of what we've seen in the third stimulus check package. We've seen those $1,400 stimulus checks. We've seen those $1,400 stimulus checks for um, everybody on low and middle income. We've seen those $1,400 stimulus checks for people with who didn't get stimulus checks before, college students and adult dependents. We've seen the child tax credits passed for increased and passed for a year with the monthly checks that went out to 60 million children. We also have multiple Democrat proposals to increase Social Security. Um, Multiple different things. We have the Social Security 2100 Act. We have increase in Social Security by $200 per month. We also have things like I suggest, like not penalizing people on Social Security and reducing their food assistance, SNAP benefits, when they do get Social Security raised, like the cost of living adjustment. Okay, the care economy is basically caring for people, and we've seen a lot of that from the third stimulus check package, $1,400 stimulus checks, child tax credits, rent assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance, all sorts of things like that, raises for seniors, all those type of things, right? So that is what the care economy is, and possibly one of the most important in there. So let me know your thoughts on this. We'll be talking about this more here in the coming days. Possibly the most important one there, caring for people. So let me know your thoughts. Make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel. Remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Subscribing is completely free to do so. It literally costs nothing. We're also going to be having a new cash giveaway here coming up soon here on our channel because we just reached 400,000 subscribers. So don't miss out on any new videos here at this point. Remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can click here to watch my newest video next, and you can click here to see my new video of $1,000 stimulus checks that were just announced. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.